Now, one of the things that I think makes the Labor Party a successful political organisation is that regardless of whether you like what they're doing, if you're part of the team, you have to pretend you agree with everything that they're doing. Why? Because the Labor Party has a thing called a caucus. This means every single member of the party gets to go behind closed doors, and one says, let's go this way, and one says, that let's go that way, and then they have a vote and they decide they're going to go this way, which is not the way you wanted to go. But as soon as you walk outside, you've got to say, I completely agree, we should have always gone that way. Perfect example of this was Penny Wong. Remember the absurdity when Julia Gillard says, yeah, not to same-sex marriage, for whatever reason, that would be too big a shock when she was the Prime Minister. We had to believe that this openly gay woman was completely cool with the idea that her government was going to go against same-sex marriage. In fact, here's the receipt that we have way back from 2010. And of course, we know it was all BS at the time because, of course, this was her reaction when same-sex marriage was legalised under a Liberal government. Oh, that's right. It happened under a Liberal government? Wow. A couple of years later. But that's the way it works. Stick together. No one has a go at the system. Nobody complains. Anyone who complains, the system turns on them. Conversely, the Liberal Party, much more fair, and they're able to say people can cross the floor and disagree, and that's all fine. But in terms of message discipline, it means that, generally speaking, with the Liberal Party, think about it as a third of bedwetters, a third of right-wingers and a third of left-wingers, depending how that turned out on your screen. And at any one time, the bedwetters choose to go to the left or to the right. And whichever third are left out of the two-thirds, they're the ones that you see on TV always, generally, piddling from a great height on whatever the idea is that the Liberal Party is doing. When it comes to the left, that was about they're not doing enough on climate change, or where is all the same-sex marriage stuff? And all of those MPs, of course, were returned to Parliament by that's right, they were all wiped out by the Teals. Anyway, so the Liberal Party then ends up in this situation where people can sort of openly question and openly have a go, and that's good for the system, but it's very bad when you're trying to have a bit of message discipline. You end up looking like you're fighting amongst yourself, but in actual fact, the Labor Party also fights amongst itself. They just do it behind a closed door. As you may have heard by now, Labor Senator from Western Australia, elected to the Parliament at the last election. She's there for 6 years. In a vote today, which was about recognising Palestine as a country, and if you would like a two-state solution, probably at some point going to have to recognise both of the states. When and how, that's a debate for another time, and let's not do it now. So, of course, she turns around and she says, I'm voting against my party. Now, the technical term in Canberra they all love is cross the floor, cross the floor. No, she voted against her own government. To give you an idea of how rare this is, according to the ABC, it's the first time a Labor politician has crossed the floor while Labor is in government since 1986. Since 1986. Yet, this Prime Minister, desperate not to offend Islamic voters who, as we have shown you before, are raging up in a campaign right now, suggesting that Arab and Muslim voters, according to SBS, are starting to get the Harry hits with Labor because they're not coming out against Israel enough. And they're out there saying Muslim vote matters and we could decide 20 seats if we go this way and we go that way. And even the lefties over at the Saturday paper, yeah, don't worry if you haven't heard of it, the Saturday paper, it's sort of really the Saturday papers, but yeah, anyway, don't worry about it. So, of course, will this person be punished for doing the first thing against her own government since 1986? Of course not. Why? Because this is a piss-weak Prime Minister. Oh, sorry, what's the proper term I'm supposed to use? Weak and rattled Prime Minister. I apologise. A weak and rattled Prime Minister. So for the first time since 1986, a Labor person has voted against their own government. For whatever reason, but it ain't the way the system works. Penny Wong had to pretend she was against same-sex marriage. This senator from Western Australia creates Labor Party history because the Labor Party does not want to throw the Muslim vote away and certainly does not want to throw them into the arms of the Greens, who are the ones pushing the votes for the recognition of Palestine in order to get two countries recognised for the two-state solution. The Labor Party will take no action. None. Not suspended, no inquiry, no expulsion. So I would now like to appeal to all of the other Labor MPs who would like to cross the floor when they know they're doing the wrong thing. For example, nuclear ban, climate change, vape policy. Because clearly there's no consequences. Or does that rule only apply to this senator and this issue? It's a bit like every time they fight the Greens. They're not actually fighting the Greens.